And spending some time with the Lord, um, he began to talk to me about legitimacy. And I want to talk to you, won't be as long as I intended. But once again, I'm forced to deal with a rich word that's beyond me. Let's look at the book of Genesis, chapter number 32, verse number 22, if you will. I got my number one cheerleader there. She gonna help me preach. Yeah, she in the middle aisle. Ready? Verse number 22. And he arose up the night and took 2 wives and 2 women servants and 11 sons and passed over ford Jabbok, and took them and sent them over the brook and sent them over, and he had. And Jacob was left alone there, and he wrestled a man with him unto the break of day. Verse 25. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched hold of the thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And he wrestled with him. Verse 26, and he said, let me go, for daybreak. And he said, I will not let you go, except you bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, that thy name shall be called no longer Jacob, but Israel, for a prince has power with God and with man, and has prevailed. And Jacob asked him, said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said unto him, wherefore is thou doest ask after my name? And he said, and he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And my life is preserved. Verse 32 for extra reading. And the children of Israel eat not the sinew which is from the shrimp upon the hollow of the thigh upon that day, because they touched the hollow of Jacob thy thigh into sinew. I want to talk, you may be seated, about a wrestle, a fight at Peniel. I want to talk about a Peniel experience just a few moments. It won't be that long. But Peniel in this text, to understand how we get to the fight between man and God. It is, some say it was an angel he wrestled with, and some say that he wrestled with the incarnate of God as he deliberated with the manifestation of God in his pre-Christ-like form, as he oftentimes came down and supped with man. And so now Jacob is fighting with God, but I'm trying to understand how he got there, Tilt. How did he get to the place, Herb, while you looking there, how did he get to the place in his life that he would fight with God? I'm trying to understand, because some of us have been in the very same fight. We're fighting against the will of God. It's not the first time we've heard this, because if you study of the Politian writer, you would find that God said to him, why kickest thou against the pricks? It's not the first time that man has fought with God. And so, in order to understand the text, I must follow the social matriculating pedigree of the text, and let's go and study there. Well, as I studied, that tells me that there were 2 boys being born from one mother, and somehow the mother had some trouble because the children were fighting in her womb. She was getting ready to give birth, and while she was trying to give birth, one son reached his hand out. Somebody by the name of Esau reached his hand up and grabbed his brother and held him back and came out of the womb. Now, Jacob was supposed to be the front liner, but Esau had the power in his hand. and he pulled him back. And Jacob's mother saw that Jacob was supposed to have been the king, but there was a delay. So she tried to help God out. I want to be careful about the process. And now Jacob is called the trickster. His name means trickster. He's slick, he's sly. He always got a hustle. He can always get out himself out of a jam. He can lie his way out, talk his way out, con his way out. He always got something he's working on to get up out of that. Jacob is like a cat. He always lands on his feet. No matter what you do to Jacob, I want to talk to somebody in here that may be a Jacob in here. No matter where you do what you do to him, he's going to find a way to make it. That's Jacob. Leave him in a house by itself and somehow with nothing but bread and water, and somehow he's going to take the bread and find some kind of way to find some lemons in the backyard and make lemonade and water. That's the Jacob mindset. Now, the text will share with us that Jacob gets himself in trouble because his brother Esau is agrarian, he's a hunter. And his brother comes in one day, and his brother's hungry and been out there eating, and here comes Jacob, sees an opportunity. His brother is famished, about to die. What he says to his brother, he says, brother, I'm hungry. That's what Esau says to Jacob. And Jacob said, I'll feed you if you will simply give me your birthright. Now, the funny thing about it, because Esau said, what good is it to have a blessing on your life if you're about to die? So Jacob gets the birthright from his brother. Now, the trick is right here. Watch the trick. The trick is somewhere along the line where Jacob and Esau confronts another time. Their daddy has gotten old, and it's time to pass the blessing. In those days of time, when the old man got old, how he left an inheritance is he grabbed the son, Barbara, and he blessed his next seed. And God would bless the child that he blessed. And so now Jacob is heard about it through the very great vine of his mother. And his mother says, you got to understand it. Your daddy is getting ready to bless the next child. And she says, don't you know that the blessing should have been yours? And so she says, what I want you to do is go get me a piece of lamb, bring it unto me, and what we're going to do is we're going to serve it to your daddy and dress up and act like you are Esau. We're gonna scandal, scheme, hook and crook to get yourself to the blessing. So what he does is he says, well, mama, we got one problem. I may be able to fix a meal that you have provided and give it to him, and it may taste like the real thing. But the problem is that my brother is hairy and I'm smooth at the face. She said, don't worry about that. I'm going to take and sew some of the clothes, some of the lamb's hair and skin on you, that when your daddy touch you, you look like the real thing, but you're simply a copy. Talk to that. Some of us have been in a point in our life where we've always been a copy of the real thing. And so now she says, I'm going to fix the meal. So he goes in, takes the daddy the meal, and the daddy says, wait a minute now, you sound like Jacob. But you feel like Esau. You feel like your brother. But it goes a little further, and it doesn't end there. But when the daddy ate the fiddle, he said, wait a minute, you cook like Esau. And so he leaned over and he blessed him. Now, the the problem is when he blessed him in such a way that he said that your brothers will serve you, that everything that's on my life will be on yours. And so he was all happy. The scandal had gone. And so now Esau comes in a little bit later after he's got his daddy's meal together and comes in the house and said, oh daddy, here am I. And he says, here are who? Here is who? And Esau says, it is I have brought you what you told me so you can bless me. He says, oh my God, we got a problem because I thought it was you that came in before me. Somebody has already beat you to the punch. And he says, wait a minute now, you mean to tell me? He says, Daddy, is there anything you got to give me? He says, I don't have much, but all I can pray is that as you serve your brother, that God will have mercy on you. Now that's how the text goes. Now, as a result of this, Esau says to his brother, I'm going to kill your black behind. I'm going to take you out because of what you've done to me. You ain't going to take my inheritance. You ain't taking grandma's insurance policy and think you're going to get away with it. And it's going to just end like that. But somehow, Herb, as you follow the text, something happens. When the daddy gets about at death point, the mother says to her son, baby, you better hit town and go work for Laban, your uncle. He gets to Laban's house and Laban tricks him. And Laban is old crook himself. A crook meets a crook. You have to understand that when you do people wrong, tell somebody you're going to get it back to you. So he gets to Laban's house and tricks him a little while, and Laban flips the switch. If I had time to deal with it, I could tell you how he worked 7 years for a woman. And when he got in the bedroom with the woman, he found out he had a woman that had a crooked eye. And she looked like the woman he wanted, but it was a carbon copy of the thing he wanted. I want to tell you something, that you've got to be careful whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Right into the text again. The problem with it is that now finally 14 years later, he gets the wife he wants, and his daddy, father-in-law, don't want to let him go. But he finally gets away, and Leah, his wife, and Rachel finally leave with him. Well, as he leaves his father-in-law's house, 14 years later, they tell him that his brother is on the way to settle the score. And he's afraid. Now watch this. His brother has the men, but Jacob got the goods and the wives. The problem is he has the blessing, but he has nothing to stabilize the blessing in his life, so he is afraid. But watch the text. He's afraid all that night because his brother said to him, I'm going to kill you just as sure as daddy dies. His past, Herb is trying to catch up with him. Well, he's gone straight and narrow. He stopped doing what he used to do. He stopped crooking and hooking. But the past is now catching up with him. I want to talk to somebody that you ain't doing what you used to do, but your past is creeping up on you. Look at somebody and say, my past is knocking at my door. I'm trying to leave it alone. I've been trying to forget about it, but my old ways and the stuff I used to do keep getting talked about like I did it yesterday. I ain't been a hoe in years, but they keep talking about me today like I'm still hoeing yesterday. Sometimes it's your nasty past that when you painted the picture, you painted it so well that when they finally see the Picasso, they're talking about it just like you painted it yesterday. The truth of the matter is he's changed his ways. But tell somebody his past is in his face. Watch the text. I'm almost done there. He says to the Lord, he says, Lord, have mercy on me. He says, God, I don't understand. I've been trying to be a monster, son. I've been trying to be a good boy. He said, Lord, I don't know. He sends his wives ahead of him. He said, it's coming a time that sex won't satisfy my issue. I'm in a place now that if I get as much as I want, it won't pick me up out of where I am. I'm in a place now that my clothes and my cars and my shoes won't help me. So what he does is he sends his lambs.